For those of you who do not know us, Replique, we are a startup based in Germany, Mannheim. We made it just across the river from BASF, which is our origins. We started in BASF. I myself worked in BASF for a very long time. And we just spun out this year in March to become an independent company because we are a platform and we are not just working with BASF materials. Our offering is still the same. We offer to our customers to store their parts virtually with us and get them produced through our global network of print partners at the right time, in the right quality and right amount. So I have to thank Christoph for the nice talk before, because I think some of the stuff that he explained also applies to how we work. But I guess there's also a few differences. Speaking of customers, what could Miele, Sienna Garden, and Remit Power have in common? This is what I want to talk about today. But before, I want to take a look at what our OEMs usually struggle with. I mean, they want to satisfy their customers. They want to make them happy. They want to offer lots of products. They want to deliver fast and have very good spare part availability. But at the same time, this usually means cost for them because they have to store them. They have to store them in different places in order to be fast. They have to ship fast, which costs a lot of money. And so after all, it's often they feel they have to decide between cost efficiency and customer satisfaction. And often, if you choose cost efficiency, this can mean that disruptions take place and you lose resilience. So yes, we, in a way, disrupt supply chains, but I think before we disrupt them, they also get disrupted by external factors. And I think we all remember in the pandemic how borders in the EU were all of a sudden closed. This was something, I mean, I experienced when I was a small child, but it was unthinkable that this would happen again. And this caused a lot of supply chain disruptions. Maybe you remember this picture. There was this big container ship stuck in the Suez Canal, and this led to immense disruption. So we had containers the wrong side of the world, and then people were waiting for containers, and it became very expensive to get shipping, and I think it took months to really, recover from that. And another more recent disruption was the Russian-Ukrainian war that is still ongoing, that also kind of, shook up supply chains, shook up much more than supply chains, but also supply chains. And the question is, what is next? We all do not know what's next, but we know that something will come. And so already during the pandemic, McKinsey did an interesting survey. They asked OEMs, like, how do you want to react to this, and how do you want to react? And 80% of them said, we want to increase our inventories so that we can deliver, we're not so dependent anymore. So they said exactly what before they wanted to reduce, and this means cost. They also said, we want to add more suppliers to be more resilient. Another 81% said exactly that. So that is a nice idea, but that means adding complexity and ultimately adding cost. And last but not least, they said, okay, if I'm so depending on shipping and borders and all this, let's produce locally. Great idea. But again, if you think about it, this means adding more suppliers, adding complexity, adding cost. So isn't there a better solution? And spoiler, of course there is. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here speaking to you. And now I'm coming to my 3 cases. So first one is Miele. Some of you might know them. They make really good household appliances, washing machines, and other sorts of things for the kitchen. And in the project that Miele realized together with us, the idea was really to go for customer satisfaction, to offer a wider portfolio of parts, accessories in that case, and to offer them despite the fact that they're not high volume, and if you go for traditional methods, it wouldn't be possible. So what happened was that they went through Replique, through our digital inventory. Basically, they offered the parts once qualified. We learned about choosing the right material, choosing the right technology, so we also support with that. They offered now these products online in their web shop, and once a customer orders it, it gets routed through Replique and fulfilled by our suppliers. So that's just a graphic how it works. So in the end, Miele keeps the customer relationship, but we absorb the whole complexity. And so the nice thing is that with these accessories, they could be fast in launching them. It only took a few weeks. They didn't have high cost because they didn't need to go through big molds and all this, prototyping that you would do in iterations. And third, these parts for Miele only exist virtually. So there's no warehouse. They're only in the digital warehouse with us. And so, of course, that's a great option and possibility to produce on customer demand. Another example, Siena Garden, they make garden furniture, you might have guessed. They are using exactly the same drop shipment model. So their shop is connected to the Replique platform, and the parts onboarded in the shop are offered to their customers. We do the fulfillment. The parts get directly shipped from the print partner to Siena Garden's customer. But the motivation was completely different here. This is not about accessories or new parts. It's about spare parts. And in fact, it's about parts that otherwise they would not offer at all to their customers because it became too costly to get them. The original supplier is not available anymore. They have large minimum order quantities. The molds are gone, etc., different reasons. So what Siena Garden did, they decided, and this is before we have the right to repair for garden furniture, they decided they want to offer to their customers these spare parts, and they managed to now offer what they wouldn't have offered through 3D printing and the digital inventory as eternal spare parts. And now, these might be small steps, but I truly believe that the repair has big impact when it comes to sustainability. But if you look at this project, then already we've saved more than 1,000 garden chairs and other equipment like Hollywood swings, etc. In this case, it was different because the parts were not directly designed for additive manufacturing. So what we did, they were legacy parts, is that we helped them qualify these parts. So we helped them choose the material, the technology. We helped them also redesign a little bit. But if you look at the time scale, this was still a very, very fast process. So this is just the example of this screw for the Hollywood swing. Now, last but not least, coming to Rehamed Power, a company also based in Germany, making electrical wheelchairs. It's yet another case. So yes, they're also using Replique and the digital warehouse, no surprise, and 3D printing. But in this case, this is really for serial production. And we help them from the first prototypes through the pilot series, now into serial production. And we managed that they could sort of reduce their prototyping cost considerably, that they could reduce their development times considerably, and also that they were able to provide customization. So in this wheelchair, it depends on what their customer orders. There's 19 to 23 parts already 3D printed. And we are currently also looking for even more parts to be 3D printed, to be customizable, because especially in this area, customization, of course, has a great benefit for the customers or patients. And the last thing is that they started selling in Germany, and then they started selling in Europe, these chairs, and they now also sold their wheelchairs as far as New Zealand. So through our network of global print partners, we can also support them with the spare parts in the future worldwide. So I hope that by now you kind of got the idea what Miele, Siena Garden, and Rehamed Power have in common, besides that they all use 3D printing and that they all work with Replique. I think the bottom line is that they did not choose between cost efficiency and customer satisfaction, but they really were able to do it both, or to use it to go for both with the on-demand 3D printing through a platform like Replique. And yeah, with that, I'd like to close. And thank you for your attention. If this has triggered some ideas, if you'd like to speak about some projects or something, I'm here later. But if you have questions and if we've got time, I'm also happy to take questions now.
So my first question is, how do you handle protecting customer IP within the Replique platform?
So I skipped over that very quickly, but you might have seen this little lock here. So we use now I'm lacking the word. Verschlüsselung, sorry. Coming back. So we have technology encryption technology to encrypt the files. So when they're stored in the warehouse, but also, for example, if we have a G code, we can encrypt in a way that we can directly, so the printer just prints out and it just prints the amounts and the quality. So you can't really manipulate. So the print partner, in that case, gets it from the digital warehouse as qualified and just needs to make sure they have the right material and the right settings. And of course, the printer has to be maintained in the right way. Yes.
Who holds the responsibility for the qualification of the parts?
That depends. We have two sorts of customer groups, I'd say. Some of them, like Miele, for example, or also Alstom, are very experienced in 3D printing. Often customers come with a part that they've already, let's say, pre-qualified in-house. So they've made the design. They're always responsible for the design. We can't design, I mean, we can design, but they know their application best. But sometimes they've already chosen a material, they've already chosen a printer, and they've already chosen settings. So that would be a case where we say, okay, if you've pre-qualified and you just want to scale with us, fine. But what we also do, and what we did, for example, in the case of Siena Garden, we help them with what we call onboarding, or it's a consulting where we support. But in the end, I mean, it's an iterative process where, you know, we do test prints and then they need to be tested in the application.
Linked in slightly to a previous question, where would liability reside for a spare part provided?
Yeah, so that is linked because, like I said, if something is designed to break in a certain application, that's difficult for us to take liability for that. What we take liability for, though, is the print quality. So basically, we are also the one point of contact for our customers. So they buy from us, and we have to make sure that the quality is right. And we also have, so I just presented a little bit of our platform. We have a module to do quality assurance. It's called RSure, where you can also preset certain testings that you want to have. So this can already be done at the supplier. So the idea is to digitize all that. And so that's one thing. We also integrated, for example, additive marking. I don't know if you know it, but it's to individually mark parts. So you can also really go back on a part level if that's important for your application. So there's different mechanisms. Of course, when you talk about a foot cap for a garden chair, it's going to be different than a part for a train. Yeah.
How involved are you with the front end and the user interface and having that kind of customer online portal for being able to order a part?
So we have our own, I mean, we have our platform, and our customers can access it through a web interface. But to be honest, if you think about concepts like Siena Garden and Miele, they wouldn't, they wouldn't say, I got an order and I'll type it in here and now I'll order it. So we can connect to e-commerce shops, to ERP systems like SAP systems. So yeah, that's it depends really on the case. But of course, we also serve lots of smaller customers who then, or for example, in the case of Rehamet Power, this is something they would then order. It's possible to also order directly, but when you want to make it available to your customers, of course, it makes sense to integrate it. And I think that's also very important, that when we think about disrupting supply chains, we also have to think about integrating it into the processes of the large OEMs. So that is where I guess our history helps. Coming from a large corporate, we know that it's not so easy to, just implement a new IT tool, or it needs to really fit in with the processes that are established, and this is what we strive for.
Last question, if no one else has anything. After the 3D printing step, do you all offer or plan to offer any other follow-up post-processing?
Oh yeah, we do. In fact, I didn't mention it, but for example, these are coated. I mean, they're also, you can have them in different colors. So we also, and that's also integrated in our platform, we offer all kinds of post-processing. So also here, like Christoph said, anything that's, I think there it's the same for Proto Labs and us, anything that is established and mature enough can be done. So that's standard post-processing we offer as well, and you can define it. Yes, please.
What about the carbon footprint?
Yes. What about the carbon footprint?
Like, how is it compared to the other market, like 3D printers?
Sorry?
How is it compared to the other ones in the market that are already doing 3D printing?
Well, that's a good question, because, I mean, we are no experts at calculating the carbon footprint. It's a really difficult thing. This is also something I learned in BASF, to do it right. So I would not want to say we're better or worse or anything. I think it's case by case. I think it's something that in the future, will be possible also. The more data you have, if you've got the material data, if you've got the transportation data, if you've got the data from the printers, the energy consumption, then you can calculate all that. But I wouldn't, it's hard to now say it's better or worse. I think it also depends on what cases or how far you look. Because, for example, if you think about the repair case, then that's a strong case already. But it would also be if they 3D printed in-house themselves,